Today on Geared for Growth, I'm joined by someone who has probably walked through more grandma houses and half-gutted kitchens than most people will see in a lifetime. Oliver Jackson, Director of Living Property. Oliver is one of the most straightforward, no BS operators in the game, and he came to me with a topic he was itching to unpack. Why so many people are getting swept up in the fantasy of property flipping and getting absolutely burned by the reality. In this conversation, we dig into the truth behind flipping versus renovating to hold. Oliver walks us through why most flips don't stack up, why the real money is made on the buy, and how renovators are leaving huge long-term gains on the table by chasing short-term cash. We go deep into what makes a good Reno investment, how to spot a property with upside, the secret advantage that comes from agent and tradie relationships, and why holding, not selling, is the quiet strategy that actually builds wealth. If you've ever looked at the block and thought, I could probably do that, this episode is the reality check you need. Let's jump in.
Oliver Jackson, thanks for joining me back on Geared for Growth.
Good to be here.
For anyone that has the displeasure of seeing this on YouTube, you've just seen a bloke in a sawn-off T-shirt giving his double-barreled bicep pump. Thanks for that rating boost. I'm sure it won't materialise. But let's get serious, because you came to me with an idea for a serious topic, and it seems like the block has been on the telly again. I probably watched a bit of the first series and wrote it off as not really aligned to reality in any way, shape or form. Not judging anyone that enjoys it as a reality TV thing, but in terms of the outcomes and, the applications for real world property investors and renovators and flippers, it's a TV show, right? But what are you sort of seeing in terms of your inquiry? You're getting a lot of people talking to you about flipping, right?
Well, let's just say that if it wasn't for that poor telly guy, the block would have been done 10 years ago. Yeah. But he's single-handedly kept it going by pretty much buying the whole thing. The last one he didn't get involved in, and did any of them sell? I don't know. I don't think so.
There was some scandal I saw in the news about the auction technique or something like that. But yeah,
that's a good way to blame it. That's a good way to blame selling houses for $3.5 million in a place where they're $800,000 across the road from a pet store,
And in terms of the commercial realities to it, a lot of this is sponsorship based, right? So they might be doing these renovations, but Dulux pay for the paint and, James Hardy pay for the timber or what have you. I mean, I'm making up names and connections here. I don't have background knowledge in any of that, but I have a fairly clear idea that a lot of these materials are provided pro bono. The work that the contestants do goes on the telly, but they actually have a back of house team of trades that are all factored into the cost of the production of this TV show. And I don't even think the TV show cares if they make a profit. It costs money to put a TV show on. If it rates highly, you have the ad spend, blah, 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 blah. So that's where I would caution people to not model what they're trying to do based on a TV show. But what are some of the questions that people have for you when they're saying, look, I want to do a renovation project and can you help me with sourcing a property?
We get a lot of people saying, I want to do a flip. We get countless people every week. I want to flip. It's like, why do you want to flip? Are you pre-approved? Do you have money? And the answer is 95% of the time, no. They bust out the word money partner. So I think people think they're going to get a money partner. He's going to give them cash. They're going to do a flip. They're going to make $200,000, walk away, happy days. I'll do that 5 times a year and be rich. But the reality is they'll lose money.
If everybody could be doing that, then everybody would be doing that, right? Like when I'm not sure exactly what the average wage is in Australia. I think the ABS sort of said, like, if it's full-time employed, it's 80 something, maybe there or thereabouts. But if you can make 200 doing a reno flip, let's just say you're even doing 1 a year, or let's say 2 a year, and you can make more money than you can by doing a 9 to 5. Yeah, everybody would do it, but there's some problems as to how that mathematics doesn't actually work. So can you talk us a little bit about the commercial reality of doing a flip project and some of the things that people maybe off the top of their head aren't factoring in, like a little thing called capital gains tax?
Yeah, the maths ain't mathsing. Well, I think so. Our marketing is, I think, what reels people in. So we talk about creating $200,000 in equity in 90 days. So people see that and go, "Oh shit, I can make $200,000 in 90 days." It's like, well, we're talking about it from a point where extracting the equity and then buying another property. That might be straight away. That might be 1 year, 2 years, depending on the person's circumstances. The thing that people are like, oh, but then I can just, isn't that 200 grand? It's like, no. You got buying costs, stamp duties, buyer's agent fees. If you're doing it yourself, you'll save 25 grand there. So buyer's agent fees, holding costs, selling costs. There's another 30 grand to sell it. Marketing, advertising, capital gains tax. I mean, you set it up in a company, and there's ways around certain things. But you've got $200,000 in freaking buying and selling costs. So unless you're a proper flipper and you're buying it yourself and you're selling it yourself, like in Facebook groups or however the hell people sell property these days without paying an agent 30 grand, it's pretty much either not impossible, but stressful, and the money is not as amazing as everyone thinks it is. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there, proper flippers, that make a lot of money, do it well. But you've got these people that are selling flipping courses that they say, yeah, we'll just get a money partner and go and buy a house and flip it. But they don't teach you how to buy the freaking property. Like we buy hundreds of properties. It's because we have relationships with agents that we get deals. If you just rock up to buy one flip a year, you're not getting a good deal on a property. And that's where all the money's at, is on the buy.
Yeah. Because I suppose people don't think about the buy, they think about the reno. They're like, okay, well, what can I do that's going to give me that maybe 2 or 3x return on spend? So if I'm putting $10,000 into a renovation, I want $20,000 or $30,000 in valuation sort of uptick. But when you kind of think about that and compare that to the difference in buying a property well, when you can potentially get that under market value, then that is, probably 50% of the results of the deal, right? Is getting the property under market.
If you're going to do if you want to do a flip and actually make money on it, you have to do an absolute shitter, which has massive reno costs. So you're not going to buy a house for 500 grand and do a 30 grand reno and be able to flip it. You need to buy a house that's pretty much in all sorts and spend $200,000. Like it's a big reno that you can add bedrooms and like stuff like that. You can get away with it with that, but most people don't have the money to do that. It's like, and then it's a big structural, big renovation that can take 6 months. What if a 1 month reno could take ages? You got to get the trades. We do hundreds of renos, and we have trades that we use over and over and over again, and still sometimes we struggle to get them to there when we want them there, the right time. So all those delays from people who have no idea, it's just going to burn them.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you about the trades because I did a presentation to a commercial institute recently, and I talked about the pace of construction cost growth is back to its kind of pre-pandemic average. So people say construction costs are rising so quick. It's not actually true. It's just the pace of change during COVID was rapid. We saw 30% growth in a year or two, and it hasn't gone back down. But it's the availability of trades and the labor components that is rising, and that is very, very difficult. So if I'm just a particular person and I want to buy a property, let's just say Byron Bay, what chance have I got of coordinating and arranging the trades remotely compared to someone like yourself that has, regular work for these trades, so they have a reason to want to do a good job for you?
Yeah, it's be almost impossible. And you can get, I think we've spoken about it before, the paint quotes between $30,000 and $8,000 and $35,000. Like that's just painting, Sparky's, same thing. If they don't want to do it, they'll just, give you a massive invoice and say, here you go. And if people don't know, they don't know. If you want to flip, you want them to get obviously the cheapest, best good quality work, but cheap as possible. You're not going to get anyone helping you, looking after you, just to do one deal so you can flip it. I had a client recently that bought a property, and I said, "Yeah, we'll do it, but you can't flip it. Like there's no flipping. We're not flipping, no flips." And he's like, "Yeah, I promise, no flipping." And he's flipping it. He's going to make some good money on it, but I'm so dirty at him because it was this. I did all the work, like the amount of work we put into that property, the trades, and it's like, and now he's selling. I'm shattered. Like, yeah, you're going to make some money, man. But if you hold on to that, you're going to get you'll probably get 7% rental yield because of how much we got the property for. Why would you sell it? It's just going to keep going. The market's going up 20% a year. Like, what are you going to do with your cash? You'll burn it all in 6 months.
And that was sort of I suppose the genus of this particular episode was you wanted to talk about the difference between renovate to sell and then renovate to hold. So you kind of preface that in terms of the strategy piece earlier in the episode where you were kind of saying, look, the real game is to hold that property, redraw the equity and go again. And then if you're buying in locations that have capital growth drivers, like i.e. we're just not looking for where we can get the biggest uplift on something, it actually has to be a suburb that you've got faith that has some growth potential, right? And then you're getting that that upside. You've got an increased yield, you've got equity to be able to go again, and then you've got this kind of renovated, nice property that is just a stocking stuffer for your portfolio, and the game is building on that, right?
Yeah, well, real wealth happens when you build a portfolio over time. Properties double every 5, 10, 15, whatever it is, years. That's where you create wealth. If you stack to the average couple is probably on, what did we say, 160, 200 grand a year. Yep. You can buy a property every couple of years, buy 3 or 4. That's all you need. By the time you get to retirement, you'll literally be able to retire without struggling. How many properties are you going to be able to flip in that time? If you're not a professional flipper, like you're going to make 100 grand here, 50 grand there. You'll end up just going, oh, cool, we've got an extra 50 grand. Let's go on a longer holiday. Let's buy a better car. I guarantee you people are not putting that in the bank for retirement. Yeah. Their lifestyle creeps comes in. So the good thing about holding it, you can't just, go spend it. You can pull the equity out, but, it's a bit of a pain in the ass. It's really pissing me off, to be
honest. So talk us through the way that you work with somebody. So I've seen this shiny advertising where it's like 200K equity in 90 days. Walk us through what that actually looks like and what my expectations can be as a customer of being able to do that, and the potential upside to be able to go and do that subsequent times.
Yeah, so we build out a plan first of what each individual person is so different. So when people say, what can I do? It's like, fuck, I have no idea until we actually go through your whole financial life. And we work out what do you need to get to whatever your goal is. If your goal is to retire on your income, or some people have massive goals, $500,000 a year, $1 million a year. First of all, is it possible? And then how are we going to actually make that happen? From then we go and find the right properties in the right areas. So the reason we can create 200 grand in 90 days sounds good. Is that going to be the same every time? Definitely not. Could be less, could be more. We're buying in areas that are definitely on the up, that have got a long-term growth, but because we're buying, say, the shittest house in the best street, we're getting it off market, under market value, because it needs a renovation. They're not going to take it to market. There's usually some form of death, divorce, stuff like that. So we're getting basically, the ugly house, and we're putting money into it. So let's say we put 50 grand into the renovation. So that's going to increase the rent because it's a nicer property. We're getting it under market value plus the rent plus the market uplift. So within that 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, if the area is growing at 10, 20% a month, plus the extra growth we've got from the renovation, that's how we're getting that big uplift quickly.
Yep. So talk to us about the property. The worst house in the best street, potentially a forced sale, whether it be a separation or a death. Are these like habitable properties or uninhabitable properties? Like, how bad are we talking?
95% of them are habitable, because a lot of people don't have 150, 200 grand to rent. Like at the moment we're doing 3 or 4 at the moment, which are big renos, like 150 grand, restumping new roofs, like proper, gut renos. We don't do heaps of those because a lot of clients can't afford it. The clients who can afford it, there is definitely an extra uplift in it. Yep. So they're just grandma's house, just ugly. She's lived there since 1950. Hasn't updated it. Has a nice big backyard that we can subdivide, put a granny flat or build a second dwelling in it. So it's got, to renovate the front house, subdivide the back house. So you've got multiple things you can do with the property. But as for uninhabitable, not often do we do that. Only if, some clients can afford it.
So you said, some of the re-stumping, re-roofing, gutting, we're talking $150,000 renos, but you did sort of throw the figure of 50 grand out there. So is that an achievable renovation budget for some of these properties, or do we need to factor in more?
The Geared for Growth Property Investing podcast is presented by our business, MCG Quantity Surveyors. If you're an investor or a property professional looking to get the best tax depreciation deductions for yourself or your clients, please get in touch with us at mcgqs.com.au. It's our mission to help as many property investors as we can to maximise their claims and maximise their property education as well.
So out of the, say, 10 renos we're doing right now are between 15 and 50 grand.
Right.
And then we've only got, I think, 3 or 4 that are bigger ones. So, the average reno, if you just say kitchen, bathroom, both about 15 to 20 grand each, paint 10 grand, if you need to do floors, 5 grand. So, you round that 50 grand. That's if you have to do everything.
Yep.
Sometimes the kitchen's not too bad. You just have to do the bathroom, vice versa. Or you can just do like a kitchen tart up, new bench top, paint the kitchen. So everyone's different. You don't have to gut the whole thing every time. Sometimes the floors are fine. Most of the time the paint's fucked, so you have to do the paint. But stuff like that's not that expensive.
Yeah, and I was, as a quantity surveyor, I'd be sort of saying, kitchen and bathroom renovation, at 15 grand is probably well underdone, but we're not necessarily talking about a brand new Caesar stone, something that you might want to have in your house particularly. So there are opportunities to do some cosmetic work where maybe you're changing not necessarily the cabinetry, but perhaps the kitchen cupboards, the bench top, rather than a full kitchen. Is this where we can sort of budget a little bit of a lesser amount for these types of renos?
Yeah, that's like a 5 grand kitchen. Like we're doing full knockout kitchens and put a new one in for 15 to 20. Same with bathrooms. Depends where it is. Places like Adelaide, for some reason, it's stupid expensive, 30 grand. But most places it's around that. This isn't a house in Toorak. These are 500 grand houses in areas that they don't need stone bench tops. And if they do, you can get recon stone cheap anyway. So just depends on if the cabinetry is in good condition and you can just do new door handles, and there's paint these days that you can just literally paint the cabinets and they look freaking brand new. We'll do that, new sink, and away we go. Just really depends on the property.
So for people that are listening to this and thinking, I loved the block and I hated how Mike said it was a terrible show that is not based on reality, but they are interested in this as a strategy, finding a property that's underloved, that is not going to have a full advertising marketing campaign to maximize the price that it sells for. What do people actually need to look for, and what do they need to know? Are there certain types of renovations that just have a really big bang for buck, like a kitchen or a bathroom? And are there some types of properties where you would look at it with your trained eye and go, we're not touching that for XYZ reasons?
Most of the time let's say Steve, who works for me, probably went through 100 properties last week. I think we bought 3 of them. And most of those weren't because of the quality of the house. It was just block size was too small, location wasn't good, main roads, power stations, schools, like too close to a school, too close to a cemetery, stuff like that. They'd have to be pretty bad for us to not buy it. Like I said, we've got a few clients at the moment that do want the bigger stuff. But most people don't want that kind of. They don't have to do it. We do it also. I don't know what the problem is. If they haven't got the money, fair enough. But if they have, but they're just like, I don't want to deal with a big renovation, they don't really have to deal with it.
Is that where you see the advantage is? Because, everyone's kind of talking about, well, where can I find a property in Victoria sub 550, or I've got a budget of $600,000. So we're often actually flying pretty close to the sun just in terms of the deposit and the money to get the deal across the line. There's probably quite a few less people that actually have the budget for the property and a little bit of a nest egg to be able to throw at a renovation. And is that where you're seeing a bit of a competitive advantage? If people do have some extra budget, it's chucking it into a reno and getting the upside, where most people don't have anything extra?
Definitely. Like a property actually we just bought in Geelong. We There was one that sold 4 doors up, and the client's like, "Oh, let's just wait to see that auction. The reno's already done. Then we don't have to renovate." And we were like, "Mate, that's." He's like, "The guy. This is how dodgy real estate are. The guy was 630 to 650.
Yep.
It sold for 755, and we bought ours for 602,
Right.
and the reno's 50 grand. So there you go. There's 100 grand bang straight away. Ours actually a better asset. We can actually subdivide the back off. They can't.
Right.
So that's the difference between when it's renovated, it looks all pretty, but people will pay for it, to when it's ugly and the people don't see the value in a small renovation. Like 50 grand's not, it is big for some people, but we're going to get a lot done for that price. And there's 100 grand overnight in a month.
Yeah.
Maybe not overnight.
What are some of the risks, though? Because we know with renovation projects, you start ripping a few walls, you can find some asbestos, you can find some electrical work that needs to be redone, you can find some antiquated plumbing. Are there some particular concerns? I mean, because you make it sound pretty damn easy. I'm wondering why I'm talking to you. I'm not running out the door picking one up myself.
There's always problems. Every renovation has its issues. That's why we deal with it. So, well, asbestos is guaranteed in every house. So, it's not really, it's kind of non-issue if you just leave it where it is, and you don't have to take it out. If you have to take it out, it's not really that expensive to get rid of it, unless like the whole house is wrapped in asbestos and you want to get rid of it.
Yep.
To be honest, I just paint it, leave it there. It's a good product if you don't mess with it.
Yep.
So, yeah, things literally go wrong with every renovation. Sometimes you might think you can just like waterproof the shower and, new vanity, but then you realize, oh shit, we need to pull out the whole bathroom. We try and mitigate all that before and get, beforehand. So, but those kind of things can happen.
Yeah. How do you best mitigate for that? Like, is it better to have a bit of a contingency to say, look, it's 50 grand reno, but we might put 65 on this just to cover any eventualities?
Get a good builder who knows their shit, so you don't have that kind of thing happen. But yeah, always chuck an extra 10% on top just in case. Better to have a bigger budget and then not have to spend it all. We get a lot of that. It might say that's going to be 80 grand. It only costs 65, 70.
Yep.
Which would be great if that happened every time. But yeah, it is. There is risks. I mean, there's risks in buying new properties. The amount of defects that you get in a property that was built 6 months ago. I don't know if you've seen that. Have you seen that guy on TikTok, the inspector guy?
Yeah.
Building. Yeah. Oh, mate. Yeah. Far out. The things he goes through. It's like, fuck, I'd rather buy something that was built by the Italians, a brick house back in the 70s than that.
Yeah, that's true.
That's scary what he finds. Like, far out, man. So there's risks in buying anything. So, the quality of build back then was way better than it is now.
Let's talk about the particular areas that you purchased in. I mean, you mentioned Geelong, and it's probably part of your secret sauce. You said Adelaide, construction costs are a little bit higher for these types of renovation works. What are the sort of bare requirements for an area when you have, say, the perfect rundown house where you can see the upside? Like, what do you need to see in that area before you'll greenlight that purchase?
Depending on budgets. So, you've got the Brisbanes, the Melbournes, the Adelaides. You're not getting much in any of those places for under 750 now. Even that's Melbourne, that's pushing it. So yeah, you need a bigger budget. The rents are obviously lower, the mid $500, but you can find a good place there for 750 plus. Regional towns like your Geelongs, your Bendigos, your Ballarats, your Townsvilles, all those kind of places. It's kind of Wodonga, stuff like that. It's kind of 550 plus.
Yep.
Anything under 500 grand now is pretty much non-existent, except probably Tassie. There's some places, but yeah, that kind of 400 to 500 grand range is almost disappeared. Well, in areas we're buying, I'm not sure about Darwin and stuff like that, but I don't buy there. But it just depends on the location.
Yeah.
Fundamentals don't change; it's just different area.
Yeah, and so in terms of what you're actually doing. Is the secret sauce for you a combination of having the volume to be able to feed the builders and the tradies, and having the volume to be able to have sales agents that are calling you saying, Oliver, I know you like them stinky. I've got this shocker. Like, let's do a deal.
No, we ring them every day. Email blast, text message blast, phone calls. It's very, very, very hard to buy property at the moment.
Yeah.
Very hard. There is not much stock on the market. And what's on the market is a lot of it's crap. It's actually, I've been doing this for, I don't know, 8-9 years or something, and this is probably the worst I've ever seen it.
Right.
So it's very hard to find good stuff.
What do you put that down to? Like, I know we can see in the data that there's actually been quite a boom in listings, but transactions have actually matched that. So we can see a hell of a lot of properties come onto the market, but it's gone as quick as it's come on.
Yeah.
And then if we look at, the sort of the standard listings are well below the 5-year average. Why do you think we are in such a depressed stock level environment? Or is it just a matter of there's actually so many active first home buyers with the 5% deposit and the investors that are in and around that with a bit of confidence after a rate cut? Like, what's happening?
Bit of everything. There's the 5% things, probably because we're buying under that, $800,000 kind of range.
Yep.
So, it's more accessible for more people now. It's a terrible time of year. Everyone's, to be honest, it's like every year Christmas starts earlier. Now it's like, what is it? I was talking to someone the other day on the 15th of November, and they was like, just getting ready for the Christmas break. I'm like, mate, it's freaking 6 weeks away. Like every year it seems to just get more drawn out. Like people are more drained. So yeah, it's not just the real estate agents that might be tapping out a bit, but also people selling. They're just like, I can't be bothered dealing with this now at Christmas. Don't want to put it on the market. I'll wait till next year. So that's usually after Australia Day.
Yep.
So there's a bit of that going on. There's about 10 billion times the amount of buyers agents now. So there's more people buying, and they kind of know the tricks now. Where before, off markets and agent relationships, people didn't really know about that. Now there's so many buyers agents are all cotton onto it. So they're making it harder. We try and get exclusive deals with real estate agents, but it doesn't always work that way. So there's a bit of everything, man, to be honest. And there's, 450,000 people have moved to Australia this year. I think it's like 1,500 people per day. We've got no houses and more people coming. So that's going to obviously make it a lot harder.
Yes. And the 1.2 million homes target, we're about 30% behind that, and doesn't look like we have any chance of hitting that. And then also, as you say, you plug immigration in. I mean, that 1.2 million homes was probably formulated pre the immigration levels that we've seen. So there's an argument to say that 1.2 million is out of date anyway, right?
Yeah, out of date within the year. They have done in Victoria, which we're kind of taking big advantage of, is a new 10-day subdivision rule. So it started on the 16th of October. So simple subdivisions, 1 into 2, you can get passed through in 10 days. Granny flats now are way far, really fast. You don't need freaking approvals anymore. It's crazy how fast you can get them done. So they're making it easier for small developers to build, I think, to help. But it's not going to help 500,000 people. It's like our population is going to double in the next 5 minutes. It's crazy. It's crazy. And no one wants to live in the middle of nowhere. Everyone wants to live in the same freaking location. So, it's the classic like shitstorm all happening at the same time.
Yeah, it's a bit of a planning failure that we've got like 97% of our population on these little strips along the coast. All right, so okay, we talked about the flipping stuff and how difficult that actually is to do really, really well given the risks involved. And then, okay, you sell the property, you pay your taxes, you get this cash injection, but what are you actually doing with that cash? I mean, if you're not investing it into another asset, you talked about lifestyle creep, it's easy for that to be burning a hole in your pocket or your bank account and to go away. But really you kind of see the ability to get that equity uplift and almost like accelerate the trajectory of that investment property, hold on to that, move into the next one. And the real wisdom is doing that and doing it again to the point where you have a couple of properties and just being patient. which is something that I think that a lot of property investors are not interested in 2025. They want the patience of get rich slow.
I know a full-time flipper who's quit flipping because he's just done, and he does it all day. I don't know how people think they've got the time with family, kids, and work to actually do it. Like, we do this all day, every day, and to find flip projects is so hard. But we don't even do them for ourselves. It's just like, what's the point? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. So yeah, it's if you've just got a job and you think someone's going to give you $600,000 to go and flip it and make them heaps of money, I think you're in for a world of pain. Not saying it doesn't work. Obviously, it works for a lot of people, but yeah, for the masses, it's not so easy.
All right, so drop us off with some pearls of wisdom. So we talked about, you know, the advantages of getting the property well, you know, making sure it's in a location that's got the growth drivers, you know, having a good builder, having some contingencies in place. But what do you feel like is the missing thing that people don't understand, or the secret sauce for people to be able to achieve this strategy that we're talking about? I mean, obviously they can contact you and you'll do it for them. But outside of this being a promotional podcast for your business, what is the wisdom that we can give to the listener today?
Work out a plan with someone, an accountant, a financial planner, someone that actually knows what they're talking about. What can I actually do to get what I want to get to? Start with that first. Start with the end in mind instead of just going, I want to buy a house because someone in the Facebook group told me to buy in Toowoomba, so let's go buy in Toowoomba because fucking Tony said to buy there. So first I'll work out what you can do. Find a location. There's that many free tools now for data. It's crazy. Like, everyone's using the same data platforms. You know, there's ones you can pay for, but there's heaps of free ones. Focus in on an area and then just spend all your time hammering agents to give you properties off market. Yeah. They're going to love this, but anyway, just call them flat out. Ask for and know the area. Pick an area. Don't just try and buy anywhere. Pick an area that you're going to and stick to that area, so you know exactly what's going on in that there. How much is a 3-bed, 1-bath brick house selling for in Long Gully, say in Bendigo? Yep. And then see what stuff's selling for around it, because you'll see how fast the market's moving. You know, something might sell for 500 today and 550 tomorrow. Know the market. Get relationships with the agents. Finding trades is the hardest thing if you've never been to that area. That's the best way you can do that, is find a really good property manager and just steal their trades. We do that a lot. So best property manager, try and get off market properties if you can. Otherwise, really know the market. If you overpay for it, you already cooked yourself. And that's pretty much it. Buy well. If you've never done a renovation, though, it's so hard to know the price of everything. Like, how are you going to know how much, if a painter gives you a quote for 10 grand or 50 grand, how are you going to know if it's a good price or not? So I don't actually even know where you could research that. I'm sure there's plenty of places. There seems to be a course for everything these days, so maybe just do 27 different courses. But yeah, just pick an area and really focus in on it, and just try and build relationships. Property managers are the best for that kind of stuff. Good property managers.
Yeah, that's a really good bit of advice, because property managers deal with the maintenance and all of the requests. And let's just say they have a portfolio and the properties are getting a little bit tired, and they pitch to their clients, look, if you do a kitchen and bathroom, we can get an extra 150 a week or something like that. And the client says, oh, have you got anyone that can help? It's obviously a huge value add, and they're battle tested, right? Like, oh, we sent that electrician to do that job. He didn't show up on time. His invoice was more expensive than the other person. He's off the books. He's off our panel, right? So if you've got a good relationship and good trust with the property manager, you can say, who's your best guy for maybe project managing a renovation or something like that?
I mean, some property managers love project managing. They take over the whole thing. They love it. You just got to find the right one, which is, you know, they're a dime a dozen. That's also another thing. You need like an owner-operator property manager who runs their own business.
Yeah. And that makes it a little bit tricky. So, of course, the value is in the volume and the relationships. But as an individual, if you're wanting to kind of compete with that level of access, you've got to be active. You've got to put in the work. You know, there's lots of people that have said the average property investor probably spends more time researching their next television than their investment property. But
it's
if
wild.
you want to win at the game, then that's what you got to do, right?
Yeah, and I don't know, all these people doing all these flipping courses. I don't think it's as easy as what they tell you. I don't think they teach you how to actually buy the property, which is probably the most important part of the whole process.
Which is probably a whole other episode. But Oliver, thanks for coming on and talking us through the Reno flip versus Reno and hold. Certainly, you're speaker one for the affirmative to holding that property, building that asset base, but of course, making sure that you've got your plan in place to say, in 10 years' time, I want to be here, and so I need to backfill with these types of properties and these types of results to get there. I think that's a big part that's missing for a lot of people. So thanks for elucidating us on that today.
I'm glad you enjoyed my new singlet.
We'll see you next week.
Thank you very much.